Imagine you open your eyes. The world around you is dark. It is not the darkness of night. It is a deep, profound blackness where the sun should be. The sun is gone, but this realization would not come instantly. There is a delay, a final gift of light from a star that is no longer there. Light from the sun travels across the vast emptiness of space to reach our small world. This journey takes approximately 8 minutes and 20 seconds. So, for a short while, we would remain blissfully unaware of the cosmic event that has already sealed our fate. The world would proceed as it always has, under a sky that still appears bright and blue. The birds would continue their songs. The traffic in the cities would hum its familiar rhythm. The waves would still crash upon the shore, warmed by a sun that has already vanished. We would have no warning, no celestial sign, no tremor in the ground. The universe does not always announce its greatest changes with a roar. Sometimes the most profound shifts happen in absolute silence, across distances we can barely comprehend. The final rays of sunlight would be no different from the ones that came before. They would carry the same warmth, the same life-giving energy, until they simply stopped arriving. Then it would happen. The light would switch off, not fade, but cease. The blue sky would blink out of existence, replaced by an eternal night. The moon, which only shines by reflecting the sun's light, would disappear from view. Only the distant, cold points of the stars would remain. The silence would follow the darkness. Not an immediate silence, but a creeping one. The sounds of the day would falter. A collective planetary pause would descend as every living creature senses the fundamental change. The day would end with an abrupt, final closure. The second immediate effect would be far less noticeable, but infinitely more consequential. The sun does not just give us light, heat, and its immense gravity is what holds our Earth in its steady orbit. Should the sun vanish, its pull would cease when its last light reached us. Freed from its celestial tether, the Earth would fly off in a straight line, a rogue planet careening into the cold, dark void. The Earth floating alone in space, with the Milky Way blazing behind it. We would become cosmic wanderers. In the first hours, the most immediate sensation would be the cold. It would not be an instant freeze. The atmosphere, the oceans, they act as a vast thermal reservoir, holding on to the sun's warmth like a blanket. But without a source of new heat, the planet would begin to radiate its energy away into space. The temperature would start to drop steadily. Within a day, many parts of the planet would feel a noticeable chill. Within a week, the average global surface temperature would plunge below 0 degrees Celsius. The familiar cycles of weather, driven by solar energy, would break down into a strange and eerie calm. The world's great engine of life would grind to a halt. That engine is called photosynthesis, the simple, miraculous process by which plants convert sunlight into energy. Without sunlight, it stops. Everywhere, at once. The great forests of the Amazon, the vast fields of wheat, the humble blades of grass in a city park, all would cease to produce the oxygen and nutrients that form the base of nearly every food chain on Earth. For a time, the oxygen in the atmosphere would sustain us, but the foundation of our ecosystem would have been pulled out, with consequences rippling through every form of life. The visual landscape would transform. The sky, now star-dusted and unchanging, would be a constant presence. The only light on the surface would come from us, cities as islands of brilliant light. Electrical grids would strain to hold back the encroaching darkness. Power dependent on solar would fail immediately. Others, running on fossil fuels and nuclear power, would become precious lifelines, their operation a matter of survival. The seas would begin their slow transformation. Oceans hold immense heat and cool more slowly, but the surface would suffer first. Phytoplankton, the base of the ocean's food web and a major oxygen source, would die within days, triggering a catastrophic collapse from zooplankton to great whales. The surface would turn barren, while the deep for a time would remain a hidden sanctuary. As weeks turn into months, the cold intensifies its grip. The surface of every lake, river, and pond would freeze solid. The ice would grow thicker with each passing day, locking away the planet's fresh water. The top layer of the oceans would begin to freeze, starting at the poles, slowly extending toward the equator. A shell of ice, meters thick, would eventually encase the entire planet, and Earth would resemble Europa. All surface life would have long since perished. The great forests would stand as silent frozen sculptures, plains buried under snow that never melts. The very air we breathe would begin to change. As the planet's temperature continues its relentless fall toward absolute zero, atmospheric gases reach their freezing points. First, carbon dioxide precipitates as a fine, dry ice snow. Then, after a much longer time, nitrogen and oxygen follow, condensing into liquid, then freezing solid upon the surface. The sky itself would fall, leaving the planet a barren rock cloaked in a thin layer of frozen gases. The atmosphere that protected us from the vacuum of space would be gone. Humanity's struggle for survival would be confined to pockets of engineered warmth. We would retreat deep underground, using the Earth's own geothermal energy to create habitats. The planet's core, heated by radioactive decay, would continue to generate warmth for billions of years. This faint internal heat would be our only natural source of energy. Mines and subterranean bases would become our last cities, powered by geothermal vents and nuclear reactors. We would attempt to recreate the world we lost, growing food with artificial light. Life would be stark. The concept of a day would be meaningless, governed only by the clock on the wall. The sky, the weather, the seasons, ancestral memories, stories for children who have never seen the sun. All our energy would serve one purpose: maintaining the shield between our fragile warmth and the absolute cold outside. We would live in the heart of a tomb, clinging to a fading planetary ember. Even in this frozen world, life might persist in the most unexpected of places. Far below the miles-thick ice, at the seafloor's crushing pressures, ecosystems could endure. These are the realms of deep-sea hydrothermal vents. Here, life does not depend on the sun at all. It thrives on chemosynthesis, microbes deriving energy from chemical-rich, superheated water gushing from the planet's interior. Oases of life, tube worms, blind crabs, strange fish, entirely unaffected by the sun's disappearance. For these creatures, nothing would change. Their world is darkness and immense pressure, warmed by Earth's inner fire. They would live, breed, and evolve as long as geothermal activity continues. Hundreds of millions, perhaps billions of years. While the surface grows colder than Antarctica, the interior remains hot. Geothermal heat would keep the oceans from freezing solid. Beneath the ice crust, a globe-spanning ocean could persist, warmed from below. Over millions of years, new forms of life could evolve in this dark, subglacial sea, harnessing the planet's internal energy. The final chapter of life on Earth might be written here. Humanity, if it survives underground, might learn to tap this world. Submersibles braving the pressure to explore, gather resources, and study the life that remains. Deep-sea vents could offer energy and minerals. Our future might lie not in reaching for the stars, but in burrowing deeper into our own world. As millennia turn into millions of years, Earth becomes a frozen, silent ball of rock and ice, traveling endlessly through the galaxy, its path a straight line, carrying it far from the familiar constellations. Over immense timescales, it might encounter other stars. A close pass could be catastrophic, gravity tearing our dead world apart. Or, more poetically, a sufficiently close encounter could capture Earth, pulling it into a new orbit. If captured, the long night could end. Sunlight, from a new sun, would fall again. The thick layers of frozen atmosphere, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, would sublimate, turning back into gas. The atmosphere would reform. Ice over the oceans would melt. Water would flow again upon a blank slate. Deep within the oceans, near vents, life would have endured and could slowly recolonize the planet. Yet this is fantastically unlikely. The distances between stars are vast and capture improbable. More likely, Earth would wander as a rogue planet, its internal heat fading over billions of years. Eventually, the core would cool. Vents would die, and the last pockets of life would be extinguished. The planet would become truly, finally dead, yet haunted by a quiet, desolate beauty. A ghost ship sailing an infinite cosmic sea. Our story would be over, but the stage would remain, a testament to the fragility of life and our absolute dependence on the simple, daily miracle of a sunrise. We exist only by the grace of a star,